Hello, welcome back to my channel. It is officially January 1st, 2026, which is insane. I genuinely feel sick about how fast time seems to be moving lately, but anyways, we're just gonna skip over that fact and get into the positive side of the new year, which means endless book reviews. I'm going to be going over every single book I read in 2025, and we're going to be tier ranking them, which I'm so excited about. So first of all, just a preface, you're gonna have to ignore the ads because I neither have the funds nor the trust in this website to pay to remove the ads, so you're just gonna have to deal with them. First and foremost, I want to go over all the categories I have made. First up, in red up here, I think the most obvious category, God tier changed my life. These aren't just ordinary 5 stars. These are the 6-star reads I have read this year. What can I say? They changed my life. They've stuck with me. I've thought about them every single day. And then we have perfection, no notes, 5 stars. These are just the 5 stars, which are just like, you know, among the best books I read of the year, but they've not quite reached that point of like fundamentally changing me. And then we have almost there, the month of August, because the month of August is almost perfect, except at least where I live, it is so scorching hot that it kind of makes every single thing you do a little bit miserable, so yeah. And then we have, it was good, but I'm waiting for it to be great. That one's pretty self-explanatory. The book was good, but like it could be so much better. And then we have all my mornings are Monday stuck in an endless February. And to me, that means it was dull, it was boring, I was tired of the book, I did not care about it, I was kind of waiting for it to end. And then we have get this out of my face. Genuinely get this book out of my face. And then we scroll down a little bit, and here are all the books I read in 2025. The first book I read in 2025 was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And I know this book was so endlessly hyped on Book Talk, and so I finally decided to read it, and I will say, didn't really get me as much as I wish it had. I'm gonna go ahead and say it was good. I'm waiting for it to be great. And then we have Kristen Hanna, The Women. This one is going straight into the God tier, changed my life, because holy moly, like I thought about this book even before I read it, because I've always been like, I'm kind of a history nerd. However, I'm very hesitant to read historical fictions because I'm also afraid of reading sad books. But you know, I finally read my first ever Kristen Hanna book with The Women, and it changed my life, bro. I still think about that every single day. And I think 5 months after I read this book, I wrote a whole like research paper over the Vietnam War, and I used Kristen Hanna's book as my point of inspiration for what I wrote about, and yeah, what can I say? Changed my life. And then we have Emily Henry, Funny Story. I kind of feel the same way about Addie LaRue. Like, it was good, but I'm waiting. Like, this is Emily Henry. She is so beyond hyped. I've only read 2 Emily Henry books, Beach Read and now Funny Story, and I was just waiting for it to be something spectacular the whole time, and it just never was. So I'm gonna go ahead and place it. It was good. I'm waiting for it to be great. Then we have Brandon Sanderson, The Way of Kings, and oh my gosh, this book was worth every single like drop of hype it gets. It was so beyond like entertaining, but also like this book, right? It's 1,000 pages, and 1,000 pages is a lot for a single book. And one of the main kind of mantras that is said in this book is journey before destination. But this book, I truly agree that that's what this was. Like, the journey makes the destination so much better. I'm gonna go ahead and put it into perfection, no notes, 5 stars, because it was a 5 stars, but it wasn't quite like life-changing. However, I do believe that the next books in the series, so like Words of Radiance, could 100% go into that God tier category. And one of my goals for this year is to read the entire, whatever the Way of Kings, Stormlight Archives, there we go. The entirety of the Stormlight Archives, so definitely a big investment, but I'm really looking forward to it. And then we have First Lie Wins. So I actually really liked this when I read it. I remember, I think this was honestly one of the only thrillers I read this entire year, which is insane. But I remember really liking it. I don't really remember the plot of the book too much, only my reactions to it. And so I'm gonna go ahead and put it in almost there, the month of August, because for a thriller, like, it was pretty good. I feel like thrillers are either hit or miss, and this one was definitely a hit. However, I can't really speak too much about the plot anymore because I don't really remember it. But actually, the things I remember are like little pieces here and there, except they make no sense because it's like before the plot twist and then after the plot twist, and I'm like, wait, what was the plot twist again? And then we have Somewhere Beyond the Sea. This book is the sequel to The House in the Cerulean Sea, this book right here. And The House in the Cerulean Sea was an absolute like 5-star, maybe even 6-star read for me. Like, I think I read it twice now. I just love it so much. And so I had high hopes going into Somewhere Beyond the Sea, but it was genuinely like crack. I feel like the whole premise of the book was like, with the power of friendship, we can do anything. And that was just like, there was like a unicorn, I think, and it was just a lot, guys. And so I can't even put it in All My Mornings Are Monday Stuck in an Endless February because it wasn't boring. Like, it was honestly so somehow entertaining that I'm gonna have to go ahead and put it in. I'm gonna put it in almost there, the month of August, because, you know, it was almost so crazy to the point that, like, you just have to rate it a 5 stars, you know? And then we have Hello Stranger. But I actually really liked Hello Stranger. Honestly, I think I liked it more than Funny Story. It was super good, but honestly the plot twist was so like obvious that throughout the whole book I like refused to believe that that would be the plot twist. And so when it happened I was kind of like, oh, like I was shocked, but like not a good kind of shocked, but still I'm gonna go ahead and put it in almost there, the month of August. Honestly, I really recommend it. I read it in one sitting too, which is awesome. Now we have Sunrise on the Reaping. Oh my gosh, this book, it was definitely, I don't even have any words. It's just going straight into God tier. It changed my life. I am counting down the days until that movie. I think it's about 11 months now, maybe 10.5 months until we get it, and that is too long. How are you gonna release a trailer for the movie a year in advance? Like, come on guys, it's already filmed. Just give it to us. Just give it to us right now, please. But that was actually the first like Hunger Games book I have read, because, you know, I'm obsessed with the franchise, but I've never actually read one of the books until Sunrise on the Reaping, and it was so good. If the movie is not exactly like the book, I am going to throw a fit. And now we have God of Fury. This one is a sharp turn from the rest of the books I read so far. And this one, it was just like a Kindle Unlimited read, and so I read it just because, and it actually ended up being really good and definitely like my guilty pleasure genre. But I'm gonna go ahead and put it in. It was good. I'm waiting for it to be great because it honestly was a pretty good book, but like at the end of the day, how much is like a smutty dark romance book gonna impact your life, you know? And then we have Isola, not sure how to pronounce that name, but I read this book because I was trying to get one more book done in the month of March, I believe, and I found this one on Spotify audiobooks, like for free, and, well, All My Mornings Are Monday Stuck in an Endless February. Even the cover is reminding me of that. And it was just like, it was good at first, but then it dragged on for so long, and oh my gosh. But apparently it is based off like a real event. I've not seen anybody else in the world ever talk about this book, but basically it's the story of a woman who was abandoned on this island with like nothing. I think there was one other person with her, I'm not sure, but it was kind of good, but also so boring. Like, it could almost be in it was good, I'm waiting for it to be great, but the whole time I was just waiting for it to be done. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, so definitely All My Mornings Are Monday Stuck in an Endless February. But then we have Breath of the Dragon. This fantasy book I've also not heard anybody talking about, but it was good. I had really high hopes because it is by Fonda Lee. Well, Shannon Lee and Fonda Lee. But Fonda Lee is the person who wrote the, what's it called? The Greenbone Saga. So like Jade City, all that. And I've not read those books, but I have seen them recommended to me over and over and over again. So I had really high hopes about this book, but it was just okay. I felt like our main character was kind of a side character the whole time. Like, I think book 2 could be better because the ending was actually really like interesting, like the plot twist was good, but it wasn't good enough to like change my opinion over the whole book. And I just thought it was kind of boring, kind of mid, so it was good, waiting for it to be great. And then we have The Handmaid's Tale, another kind of sharp turn. But this book, man, I'm gonna be so honest with you. I read this book because I wanted to read Manacled, I guess now Alchemized, but then I still haven't done that, so I kind of just read this book for the fun of it, and there was no fun involved in this book. Like, I almost don't like it because of how like scarily close I feel like our society is to this book. I feel kind of bad reading this book because it is kind of like a commentary about our world and the kind of political state we're living in right now. But if I think I did end up rating it like a 4 stars or something like that. But I'm gonna go ahead and put it in almost there, the month of August. And then we have The Priory of the Orange Tree. This book was, I actually have it right here, do not fear. Do you see how thick this book is? I was waiting, like the first 300 pages were actually really, really good. But then, how long is this book? Like 800 pages? Yeah, it's 800 pages. After those first 300 pages, it was 500 pages of pure agony and despair. I wanted to DNF it really, really badly, but I stuck through, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it's All My Mornings Are Mondays Stuck in an Endless February, just because there were some redeeming characteristics, but I do almost want to say, get this out of my face, just out of the sheer audacity of this book being as humongous as it is, when it could 100% have been like 400 pages shorter and it would have been like an easy 4-star read instead of a 2-star read or a 1-star read. And now for the favorites. This one was definitely an interesting journey, lots of drama, but honestly kind of stressed me out. I'm just gonna go ahead and put it in almost there, the month of August, because it was really good, but like I feel like the whole time I was like this close to having a stroke, and so it's gonna go ahead and go into almost there. And now Butcher and Blackbird. Get this out of my face. Get this out of my face. I was promised pure cinema. Instead, I was met with like the most mediocre, like even less than mediocre book I have ever read in my entire life. Oh, it was so bad. It was so bad. And it was like 300 pages and it took me like 2 weeks to read. It was like, I should have DNF'd it, guys. I should have DNF'd it. But swiftly moving on from that. Swimming in the Dark, guys, it is going straight into perfection, no notes, 5 stars. This one was such an underrated read of the year. Like, I just saw it briefly on a TikTok and I don't know what convinced me to read it, but it was genuinely so beautiful and it like changed my life. It's like a queer coming of age story set in communist Poland, and guys, what can I say? Pure cinema. And now Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I'm also going to put this one in perfection, no notes, 5 stars. It's not quite into that god tier change my life category because I feel like I don't really find myself thinking about this book as much as I would like Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo or Daisy Jones and the Six. Like Daisy Jones and the Six, bro, I think about that every single moment of my life. My playlist is all Daisy Jones and the Six, and Atmosphere didn't quite get me as much as some of her other books have, although it definitely. But then a kind of disappointment of this year was Blood Over Brighthaven. I read Anna Long's other book, The Sword of Kaigen, and that book changed me. Like, I want to reread it so bad, but I physically can't because I will have a mental breakdown. And so I was expecting the same as this book, but it just wasn't that good. Like, I'm still probably gonna put it in almost there, the month of August. Like, it was a solid 4-star read, but like when you're comparing Blood Over Brighthaven to The Sword of Kaigen, there's like a huge gap, and the difference can kind of seem even more jarring. So like even though it's a 4 stars, it kind of still leaves you with a feeling of residual disappointment, just because I was expecting it to be a 6-star, but I would still recommend it. Like definitely a good 4-star read. And then we have The Poppy War. If you've watched any of my videos at all, you know I love R.F. Kuang to death. I've read almost all of her books except Catabasis, but I have just actually bought it recently, so I'm going to read it soon. And this was a reread. Like The Poppy War, it changed who I am as a person. Like if I hadn't read The Poppy War, I would not be sitting here in front of a camera talking about all the books I read in 2025. I think I read The Poppy War in 2022, and guys, it was so good. Like I'm obsessed with the series so much. I think about it every single day, and that's not even an exaggeration. But then we have Captive Prince, and honestly, get this book out of my face. It was nothing like how I was expecting it. It was disgusting. Like genuinely, I did not expect the things that were in that book to be in that book, but it kind of made me feel like sick to my stomach at points, and I was genuinely, I was like, what am I doing reading this? But for some reason, I was the end of the book made me think like, okay, maybe like this book could redeem itself in book 2. Book 2, Princess Gambit. Why was this a 5-star read? Why was Princess Gambit one of the best books I read of the year? I do not know how C.S. Picot like managed to do that turnaround, but from book 1 to book 2, genuinely insane, because I'm obsessed with the Captive Prince trilogy now, except that first book does make me question lots of things. And so thankfully there was a 3rd book, King's Rising. However, it was a 4-star read. It was almost there, but not quite onto that 5-star level. But yeah, overall, this trilogy was all over the place, because how do we get like a 2-star read, a 4-star read, and a 5-star read all in the same series? Genuinely insane. And then I read Scythe, and this book, it was good, but I was constantly waiting for it to be great. I've heard so many insanely good things about this series, and I do think if I read it maybe like a couple years ago, 5 years ago even, I would have liked it a lot better than reading it like at this current point in my life. I think it was maybe a little bit too young. Honestly, I don't even know why I didn't like it as much, but I think it's just because all these like expectations just kind of to receive a mid book was kind of like heartbreaking. It was still good, but I doubt I will continue the series unless like somebody who's watching this video absolutely loves it, and then maybe I'll consider it. But for right now, it was good, waiting for it to be great. I probably rated it like a 3.5. Now we have Deep Cuts. Man, all my mornings are Monday stuck in Endless February. Holy moly, that book was so boring. When I was reviewing this book, I feel like I made a really good comment. Not to glaze myself or anything, but it feels like the characters were written to be together only. Like they were like one character. The story was like pretty interesting and good while the characters were together interacting, but then the problem with that is that 75% of the book is with the characters apart from each other, and so that just leaves them like an empty husk of human beings, and I just couldn't care less about their story. But then we have the Summer of Broken Rules, and I feel like this is one of the only contemporary romances. Actually, that is a big fat lie. I'm staring at like 5 that I read this year, but Summer of Broken Rules was surprisingly really good. I genuinely did not expect to like it as much as I did. I feel like when I go into contemporary romance books, I'm always kind of expecting them to be like a 3 stars, but this one was a solid 4-star read, and it could have even been a 5-star. It was super good, super fun, super cute. I genuinely like believed the romance, and the plot was really interesting. I loved all the characters, and the 3rd act conflict didn't make me as upset as 3rd act conflicts usually do, which is high praise. And then I read Babel, finally. This book has been on my list for so long, and it did not disappoint. It was definitely a 5-star read. Oh my gosh, holy moly. It was definitely a 5-star read, however, not quite a 6-star read like I was hoping it'd be, but super super solid. I'm obsessed with like that whole cast of characters. The ending actually killed me. I think it was the ending that probably made it not a 6-star read, because before that I was really enjoying it. Dang, oh my gosh. And like, ugh. I'm remembering things now. Gosh, why would you do that to them? Okay, yeah. Definitely a 5-star read. That book was so good. And then I read The Night and the Moth. This book was really gearing up to be a 5-star read, but then I finished the book and little did I know it was a duology. And then the second book is not going to be out for like a whole year, and I thought it was a standalone, and so I was getting kind of close to the end and I'm like, wow, how's this gonna end in the next like 30 pages? And it wasn't going to end, and the ending felt so gimmicky, and I'm like, bruh, no way, this is like the most stereotypical ending you could ever do. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it in. It was good. Actually, no, I'm gonna put it in almost there, because it was a solid 4-star read, but it could have been a 5-star read. But then I read One Dark Window, and this one was really interesting. Honestly, I knew it was a duology going into it, but I think I still rated it a 4-star, so we're gonna put it in almost there, the month of August. But it was super good. The Night and the Moth and One Dark Window are both by the same author, Rachel Gillick, and I feel like I see a pattern going on. The endings of her books low-key kind of destroy the book and don't make me want to read the second one, so I almost didn't read the sequel to One Dark Window, but then I pushed myself to do it anyways, and it was actually really good. So I'm gonna go ahead and select 2 Twisted Crowns down here and put it into Perfection, no notes, 5 stars, because that book was genuinely really good. It surprised me. I did not think I would like it more than the first book, but genuinely we were following more characters, more POVs, and though I was kind of like, how are these storylines gonna intersect? They eventually did in like the most perfect way possible, and yeah, no notes. It was really good. Hello, welcome back. And by welcome back, I mean it has been 6 hours since I filmed the last clip. Yeah guys, it's been a long day. I went ice skating. I went to this huge buffet that was apparently a Chinese buffet, but it had like every single food category known to man, and let's just say I made sure I spent my $20 worth of food at that buffet. So I currently like can't breathe, but it's okay because we're gonna get back to rating. So yeah, I also found a way to not have ads somehow, so I was just, you know, suffering through the ads for no reason. Apologies for that, by the way. This next one, actually, we're gonna go ahead and skip a little bit, because this next book, I Never Promised You a Rose Garden, I read that in like August or September, October, something like that, so I don't know why it's with these other books, but I Never Promised You a Rose Garden, I'm gonna put it in all my mornings are Mondays spent in endless February, because it was so boring. Oh my gosh, I was, you know, trying to get back into like classic literature, and yeah, that just was not the book. It was just, man, it was so boring. Oh my god. But on the other hand, I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit again. I read I Who Have Never Known Men, and I'm not sure if that book is a classic or not, but that book, bro, instantly, oh my god, whoopsies, instantly into God tier, changed my life. Oh my gosh, okay, it was so good. Like, I don't know how a book that short could like change me so thoroughly, but it did, and it was so absolutely spectacular, and I am still not over it. I recently reposted a TikTok of this like quote from the book, and I wish I could say, but it's probably a spoiler, so I will not. But man, I want everybody in their lives to read this book at least once. It's so freaking good. Oh my gosh. And the ending, oh my, like, genuinely 10 out of 10, no notes, God tier. I love that book so much. And then I read the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin, and this book was so promising. I'm gonna go ahead and put it into Perfection, no notes, 5 stars, because it was awesome. Like, the writing absolutely blew, like, took my breath away, every single sentence, and I loved the way it was being told. We were following 3 different female characters at different points in their life, but for one of the characters it's second person, so it's like, you walked along this path, you did this, we did this, and I'm like, oh, me? I did what? And it was just so interesting. I loved the plot. However, I'm gonna skip ahead again. I read the second book in the series, The Obelisk Gate, and bro, out of sheer like disbelief at how bad it got, I'm gonna put it in get this out of my face, because I was expecting a 6-star masterpiece. Instead, I got like a novel that made no sense to me. I feel like it was so boring. I was just waiting for it to be done, and it was so just disappointing, especially after reading the 5th season, which was so beautiful and like genuinely like almost like life-changing. And then we get to this book, it was kind of like I just had no clue what was going on the whole time. It made me feel stupid, which is crazy because the first book made even the most complex of topics seem understandable and like reasonable, but this book, I feel like we just like went way too abstract and I had no clue what was going on. And so just out of sheer audacity of the book, I'm putting in get this out of my face, even though I think I rated it a 2-star. And then I read Heated Rivalry. Oh my gosh. If you haven't watched Heated Rivalry, like this is your sign to go ahead and do that, because it is, oh my gosh, so good. I watched the first 2 episodes and then immediately went and read this book, and while it wasn't life-changing in any way, I did rate it a 4 stars. Like I thought it was like pretty solid for a contemporary romance book, and I loved it a lot. I'm gonna put it in almost there the month of August because it was a pretty solid 4-star read. I haven't read The Long Game yet. Let me know if I should do that if you've read it so far, but it really is the long game. Like it's super long, and apparently it's about a bunch of like sad topics, and so I don't really know if I want to read that, but I know it is getting adapted as a 2nd season, so maybe I should read it. I don't know. We'll see, maybe. And then I read Dark Rise by C.S. Picot. This is another trilogy by the author of the Captive Prince trilogy, except this one was YA while the other one was adult. And honestly, Dark Rise, it was good, but I was waiting for it to be great like the whole time. The ending definitely kind of made up for that like long drag in the beginning and kind of the middle, but it was still like, it was just meh. It was a solid 3-star read. However, I did go ahead and read the next book in the series, and I'm gonna go ahead and put that one in almost there the month of August, because it was like pretty good. Like I desperately need book 3 right now because I feel like that book could be super awesome. However, there have been no like discussions about whether book 3 is coming out or not, despite Dark Air having been released over a year ago now, which is a little bit concerning, but you know, I'm letting her take her time to cook up a masterpiece. And then I read Enchantra. Enchantra is book 2 to the Wicked Games trilogy, I believe. So the first book is Phantasma, if you're more familiar with that one. And honestly, I don't even know. Like, get this out of my face, bruh. It was so, like, obnoxious. It genuinely felt like it was making fun of the romantasy genre the entire book, and I was, like, appalled. Every other sentence was a description of, like, how hot and attractive our main characters were. And I genuinely wanted to like pull my hair out. I was like, oh my god, I do not care about this man's lip piercing. Genuinely, can we get to the plot? And then the plot, it had so much potential, but it was like boring. It was so boring. And I'm like, oh my gosh, wasted potential, truly. But honestly, the ending, I feel like there could be a pretty fire book 3. So you will in fact catch me reading that, but this book was hot garbage. And now we only have 3 more books. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about A Psalm for the Wild Built first, and this one was pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in almost there the month of August because it was so sweet. However, it was really short. It was like 100 and maybe 70 pages, and Honestly, if the book was like 100 pages longer, I know for sure it could have gotten a 5 stars because it was just so sweet, but it felt lacking in some ways just because of how short it was. However, there is a book 2 called A Prayer for the Crowned Shy, and I believe it is a direct continuation of this book, so I feel like those 2 books together, if the second one is good of course, could definitely like be a 5 star, but for now, just alone, A Psalm for the Wild Bill was definitely a 4 star. It was so sweet. I really recommend you read it. It was about a traveling tea monk and a robot who has consciousness. Oh man, and then I read Beartown. Guys, I really need you to take a second, pause this video, and go watch my last reading vlog where I was trying to reach my Goodreads reading goal by the end of the year. I read these 2 books in that video and it truly like destroyed me. I don't really cry over books often, but these books definitely caught me like fully like ugly crying, and that is truly disturbing. But Beartown was so insanely good. Like, oh my gosh, what I could do that. Beartown definitely goes in no notes, 5 stars, perfection, because it was so good. I went into the book expecting it to be about hockey, and it just like wasn't at all. But I mean, it was kind of. But then we touched on so many deeper topics, and I didn't realize how like thoroughly I would enjoy reading that, and you have to read Beartown, bro. I did not expect it to like change me the way it did, but it was so good. But then Us Against You, I was so excited to go into it, but then reading it just left me so drained. I felt physically like sick the whole time I was reading it. I was just like anxious and so full of dread the entire time, and I've never really felt like that while reading a book before, and so that was definitely not a pleasant experience, I will say. However, it was still like objectively a pretty solid read, so I'm gonna put it in almost there, the month of August, because it was pretty good. But honestly, I do not know if I'm gonna continue the series. There's one more book, it's called The Winners, and it's like 600 pages, and yeah, if it's anything like Us Against You, I don't think I'm gonna be able to mentally handle that. So yeah, definitely a 4-star read, but at what cost, you know? But yes, here are all the books ranked. You can definitely tell I love giving out 4 stars to books because that's the most occupied category, but I would say it was a pretty well balanced reading year. Like, I love looking back through the years and seeing the amount of like 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars, 1 stars I've given books, because you can really see how your taste changes and develops over time. Like now in 2025, I feel like I have a really big percentage of 4 and 5 star books because I know what I like as a reader. However, in like 2021, 22, there was lots of 3 stars, even 2 stars, and like DNFs. Holy moly. Those DNFs were crazy. I'm just really glad I know what kind of books I like this year. However, I do think for 2026, one of my goals is to kind of like push myself out of my comfort zone and read books that I wouldn't necessarily pick up on my own. So for example, some more historical fiction. I want to read eventually The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I've been putting that one off for a long time. No self-help books because I think I need to be at least like 25 before I read those. And then I just really want to get to a bunch of these like huge fantasy series that I've been putting off for so long, like the Greenbone Saga, the Stormlight Archive that I mentioned earlier. What else? Realm of the Elderlings, is that what it's called? And just like all these series, like there's a lot I want to get to, and I'm hoping that I'm not gonna be in a huge slump this year like I was for 2025. But before we go, I want to take a second to go to Goodreads and set my reading goal for 2026. So let's go ahead and set my challenge. I think for 2026 I want to push myself to try and read 50 books. Okay, I think having read 40 books this past year, I think we can do 50 books. I really think it's possible. hopefully. I just also feel like really motivated right now, so that's probably part of the reason. I'm kind of scared to set this as my goal, but I'm gonna do my best, okay? There's at least like 12 books in front of me right now that I want to read, so like, hey, we're basically almost done with the goal. But let's set the goal, save and continue. Hey, 0 out of 50 books. Love to see it. But yes, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have an amazing 2026, and I really want to know what your reading goal is for 2026 in the comments below. And also, like, do you agree with my ratings? Are any of these ratings hot takes? While you're at it, might as well go ahead, like this video, and smash that subscribe button if you want to see more awesome content coming in the future. We have lots of big things coming soon, so like a 24-hour readathon. I'm gonna be doing a Kindle review, huge book haul. There's a lot, so keep that in mind and might as well, you know, follow me. But yes, I will hopefully see you in the next video. Bye everybody.